We've got paper towel girl here. Go with our tissue boy.
Thank you.
Oh! Welcome to Con Crunch. On this episode, we have Nathan.
My name is Nathan Allen. My cosplay name is On Fire Cosplay. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. I really enjoyed making really cool things, crafting these big, elaborate pieces of armor and stuff like that from movies that I loved.
He's going to be building armor out of EVA foam.
I'm going to be working with Cheryl on making a new Iron Man suit. So I've already built a lot of the armor already. The last piece that I need to make before the construction of it is completely done is the helmet.
We're also going to be putting lights in the eyes of the mask that we're building for his version of Iron Man. Nathan, welcome. I'm so excited that we're going to be building your interpretation of Iron Man today. Tell me a little bit about why Iron Man?
It was my first costume that I decided to make from scratch. And since when I made it, at the time I wasn't that experienced, I wasn't all that good at it. I wanted to kind of come back to it, and once I found prints online for it, I thought it was perfect to kind of redo it into a better version.
Well, you have a lot of the pieces already done. Just bring one of these over and tell us about what you did.
So let's bring over the chest piece. It's probably my favorite spot. Oh, there goes the neck piece. You know what? It's not attached. It's fine.
Here we go. Oh, wow. So that's pretty detailed as well.
This was the first piece that I made on this new project. I've learned a lot since the first time I made it. So
these are patterns that you found online that other people have provided, and you use that as your schematic.
Yeah, I got these from Etsy. So the shop was a guy named Zien Prod. So all the foam templates are specifically designed to be used with EVA foam.
Okay.
So a big problem that a lot of cosplayers have when they're making their own prints, when you make it, it's not designed for handling the thickness that foam does. It's usually for paper craft. So he takes the original prints and alters them. So it's just easier to work with foam. And it usually has instructions to go along with it. So if it's a complicated piece, you get a guide as well.
Well, that's great for anyone who's new at this. Then they almost have all the instructions they need. So what kind of glue do you use?
I use the barge contact cement.
Okay.
So it's a two-part adhesive. We have to put on both sides and then wait for it to dry. And once it gets a little tacky, then that's when you can put it on. The thing that I like the most about it is it doesn't leave a seam. Back when I made my first Iron Man suit, I was using hot glue. And I would get these big globs of hot glue that would drip over on the side and then dry, and I'd get all the strings that are never fun to deal with.
And it's like an additional thickness too inside, and contact cement is just, EVA foam to EVA foam. There's no thickness there. Oh, wow.
So this is going to be one of the legs that I have here. The shoe that I had, I already started with just coating resin directly on top of the foam. It cures white, and then I just put gray primer over it. Hopefully this piece is ready to be painted. I'm just kind of experimenting with that, and I'm going to have to probably make casts of the rest of it.
So it is articulated, so you will be able to hopefully walk and be able to move around in it.
Yeah, I will. And I'm planning on adding some bolts and nuts on it so that way it can stay together.
Eventually you plan to resin cast these?
The method I'm going to be doing is going to be called roto casting or slush casting.
Okay.
So that's taking some silicone, brushing it over a piece that I already have. Once it sets, I can then peel it off. So then once it's peeled off, the silicone will have like a negative imprint of this.
Okay.
Once I put resin on the inside of it, I can kind of rotate it around or slush it around, which is where it gets the name from.
Sure.
And then it'll create a hollow shell inside of the silicone. So then I can peel away the silicone, and then I'll have an exact resin copy of this. The main reason why I'm doing that is because EVA foam is flexible. So it'll bend. The reason I want to make it out of resin is that way it becomes a plastic, kind of hard shell. So it'll have a cooler finish, and then it'll also be able to take the paint that I'm using, which is not flexible at all. It's kind of designed to be used for like automotive parts or for metal. So things that don't move or flex.
Right, so if you put that onto this type of foam, it might crack or flake.
Exactly.
So, okay, I gotcha.
So these hands are made out of just 2mm craft foam.
Oh, so they're completely articulated.
Yeah, so I have a piece of elastic connecting all the digits together.
Do you need help?
Nah, I got it.
Okay.
There we go.
Wow.
So it's still flexible, but it's still rigid. So I just have elastic on the inside here, which allows it to bend this way.
You're in the Con Crunch here, and you're down to the last bits, which is just what? Your helmet.
Yeah, that's the last piece I have on the construction-wise, and then I can move into the finishing and casting of it.
We have our resident con expert, Kate, here to tell us about making sure we follow the con rules.
Yes, all cons have rules, usually including what is appropriate cosplay And so it's always important to go to the con website and read that information when you're designing your costume, and make sure that you're following all of those rules about coverage and how far something can be from your body, how big your costume can be, all of these things. Because if you don't, they might ask you to leave or go change, and then that's no fun. You get less con.
Yeah, no.
Nobody wants less con.
So what about like weapons and things like that?
Weapons is also something that they'll have rules about, and you want to check those as well, because if you have a prop or if you have a fake weapon, you want to make sure it sits in the rules, because they'll confiscate it or make you take it back to your car. Generally, you're going to need to get things piece bonded, which means that they'll check and make sure that it's going to be safe on the con floor, and put a sticker on it that says so.
Okay.
So make sure you allow time for that when you get to the con, because if you're running late, you might miss some stuff when you need to get your thing
Yeah,
piece
no one
bonded.
wants that.
The other thing to keep in mind, this is a slightly different side of the rules, is that when you're a cosplayer, sometimes people can get a little handsy, and that's not okay. So if somebody is touching you in a way that you don't like or is making you feel uncomfortable, go talk to security or go talk to operations, talk to any staff member, because nobody at the con wants other people there to be making you uncomfortable. They want to be able to take care of that, because they want everybody to be having a good and fun con.
Awesome. Thank you so much for these awesome tips on following the con rules.
Yeah, so starting off with the foam that we have. So this right here, you said it was Hero
Foam. Yeah,
Okay.
this is Hero Foam by So Much Cosplay by R&K. This is a high density EVA foam. And what's great about it is it's smooth on both sides. So you don't have to do any of the sanding or anything like that to get texture off the other side. But what are the stuff that you have here? You have all sorts of tools.
I have a heat gun, so that way if I need to make a curve shape, I can heat the foam up, it will soften up, and then I can bend it and stretch it a little bit to get a curve that I need. I have a rotary tool, which is used for like grinding or sanding bits of the foam off that I need. If there's too much, or if I need to do some detailing, I can do that with one of these. Then I also have a wood burner, which is again for detailing. So once this gets hot, it'll just melt the foam, and I'll be able to draw with it.
I've used that when I've built armor before.
One thing you can do if you want to do simple etching is you just draw a line in the foam. And then once you score a line in, if you heat this line up with a heat gun.
Yeah, it separates. You can still even use a very hot hair dryer if you don't have a heat gun.
And then that brings us to cutting. So this, I just use a box cutter. I got it from Walmart for like $1. But what's important with this, especially with cutting with foam, is that this will dull your knife very quick. So the important thing is to have a knife sharpener. So it's just like a kitchen knife sharpener that I use. So every time I cut like a piece of foam like this, I'll go back and sharpen my knife before I cut another one.
Now you have a couple pieces that you haven't cut out because we wanted to see you do that, but you did have a lot of it already cut out. And then here are, your pattern pieces so that we can see exactly what piece went to what.
So this is the top of the head. So it has a curve right here, so both these ends are going to curve, and then when you glue them together, it's going to create a little dome shape. Yeah, and then these little arrows I have here is on the templates, it says cut at inward angles. So these is just to remind me that when I'm cutting this one, instead of cutting it straight on, I'm going to be cutting with a 45-degree angle to get a beveled edge.
Okay.
So that way, when I glue it to another piece, it will they'll instead of joining straight, they're just going to have a little angle on them. So see, I already have this one sharp, so here we go. That 45 angle, and then just pull straight back and just try to keep the angle as consistent as I can make it. And so right here, I have the little example of the little bevel edge right there where I cut at an inward angle.
Nice. Awesome. Okay.
And after that, we do it again here.
So Nathan, are you an engineer by day or something? Because this feels like it's all a lot of engineering going on.
No, I'm outside this. I'm a firefighter, and I just got a new job as an EMT too. To me, I don't really think of it as engineer. I think of more just like art and just a fun hobby.
It's like making. I think we are ready to glue the pieces together.
Okay, so.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So using contact cement.
This is not fun to get off your hands if you get it on you.
So I'm just going to put a little bit down here, all the way down. I don't want to do too much because if there's too much, then it's not going to dry the way we want it to.
Yeah, so you don't want to leave like globs. You just want to paint a thin layer on, and then You have to let contact cement dry.
It's kind of counterintuitive when thinking about glue. They have to wait for the glue to dry before it's ready to be glued. That's the way contact cement works. If I see any big globs, I just take my finger and maybe a piece of scrap foam and just kind of wipe it away and smooth it out.
I do use this piece of scrap foam as well to kind of clean up the globs.
So while this is going on, since I have all these cut out, I could start gluing these as well.
So all of these flat pieces are going to turn into an actual like rounded looking helmet, which is amazing to me that these, you know, again, two-dimensional becomes three-dimensional.
So then this is where we have the inward cut angle. So this is going, when it glues, it's going to have this little edge. I do want to talk about kind of software that people use to make their own prints. Pepicura takes a 3D image and then converts that into a 2D image. So it will take a 3D model of Iron Man from either a movie or a video game, and then it would convert that into little two-dimensional shapes and little cutouts like these.
Oh, okay, so these are ready to be glued.
Yep, so these are ready now, so I can tell by just feeling this. It's just a little tacky, and it's not wet anymore. So you just gotta line this up with the edge here. I'm just going to slowly work my way. I work from the edge that that's going to be seen. So I start there first. So I'm gluing the top edge of the foam first. And then I'm pushing the rest of it downwards.
And you're not using a lot of pressure.
I'm just keeping it steady, and then I'm just kind of pushing them together. But anyways, yeah, so it's a free software to have, so you can download, and there's 100 of different people who have prints of files of different armor pieces. There are a lot on the Replica Prop forum.
So have you ever been painting something the night before the con?
Yeah, I did that with my, my bat suit. So I was trying to get it ready for a cosplay contest in February. I was painting it up until the night before.
Oh my gosh.
So this piece right here has this little dotted line right here. So that means I have to do a V cut. So on the back side of this, I'm going to be cutting out a little notch of this foam. So that way when I glue that foam together and then when I push it together, it's going to make a little bend on the outside. So it's important not to go too deep, so you're cutting through the foam. And this one we're doing at an angle, so I can create a little triangle valley.
Oh, I see. It's like coming right out.
And that comes out like that. So we have this little valley right here. And we're going to put glue on the inside of this. I'm reaching like the bottom of my can at home. It's a little thicker. It still works just fine, but. Oops.
Ooh. Oh boy.
You made a mess. That's all right.
Do you need a towel or something to wipe some of that off?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, so I kind of like working in little chunks. So I'm working on the front piece right now, and then once the kind of like the front face comes in, we're going to start working a little bit more on the back.
We're going to keep working on this, and we'll come back when it's more done. We have Trinity, our judge and competition expert, here with us. What role does props play in a competition?
It really depends on the character. There are some characters where you can get away with not having a prop, like say Sailor Moon characters or something small and cute. And then there are some characters where you have to have a prop, like a ton of video game characters like Cloud Strife or Sephiroth. And without that prop, you can honestly ruin the integrity of the cosplay.
So if they're not having the prop, then it's like it's missing, and the judges will know that.
Yes.
What also, some of these cosplays are impossible to walk around in without some help, and so that's where a handler comes in?
Yeah. So a handler's more or less somebody who is there to help the cosplayer. Sometimes these cosplays get so huge that you need a little bit of extra hands.
Yeah.
Thus, handler. I had a competition cosplay where I barely could move, and I ended up having two people, two handlers helping me out on stage.
Okay.
And it's more or less to kind of minimize damage moving around, minimize damage if you're moving around the con as well.
Okay. And so if I had a friend that wanted to help me, like what traits make a good handler?
Patience.
Right.
Patience is a virtue because it does take a lot of time and a lot of dedication, and the handlers don't get the recognition that they deserve. It is a lot of work to be a handler. Just because the cosplayer looks good, the cosplayer can't necessarily be there without the help of their handlers.
Oh, true. Well, thank you so much for these great competition tips.
No worries.
Nathan, this is amazing.
Yeah, thank
Look
you.
at how different this one is from your very first one too. But that just comes with practice, right?
Yeah.
So any last tips on using EVA foam for people before we move on?
I think the biggest thing is when working with EVA foam, like I said, keeping your blade sharp, but then also just using the right materials. So hot glue, especially with something like this where there's going to be a whole lot of tension against it, and you really want clean seams, it's really important to use some form of contact cement. So that way it looks nice and sleek and doesn't look, you know, kind of like how it does here with a little bit of the gaps and where you can see the glue where it seeped out and things like that.
Yeah. We have this set of LED lights that we have for eyes.
Yeah, so these, we'd probably, with either electrical tape or just some form of tape, probably insert these in the back here. Let's see which is the right one. There we go. So we'll probably put these in here. Once I make a cast of this out of resin, I'll make it so the face piece lifts up. So that way if I want to see, I can just take it off.
Oh, right.
And then just leave these in here because I can't see through the
Yeah,
back of
because
these.
technically these are not see-through. And then you have also an arc reactor model that you would be using in the chest piece as well.
So this one I bought online as well. I got this one from Etsy. Yeah, it looks really nice, but I think it's not going to be quite as bright as I need it to be. So I might just end up wiring my own arc reactor.
Okay.
Or just some larger LEDs or maybe more of them.
Okay.
But this would be really good if I wanted to do a Tony Stark cosplay outside of
Oh, right. So if
outside
you
of the Iron Man suit.
maybe want to do a casual cosplay, all you have to do is just clip it to your shirt
Yeah.
or put it under your shirt.
Yeah, and then
There
it
you
just
go.
shine through like that.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for coming and teaching us all about how to use the EVA foam.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, like we're gonna.
Dun, 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 dun.